So I'm back to business by adhering to the COVID-19.
So you can call ahead 465-2535.
I'm here to say kids, Nevis, you don't know Infamous I represent for the Ministry of Health. Yeah. Respect the COVID protocols. In a time like this, all for one for all. St. Kitts Nevis. Don't forget your mask. Wear it everywhere you go. Sanitize before and after everything you do. Cause you never know what's on the surface of the places you go. Maintain a safe social distance between me and you. Keep calm and be wise. Mask up, roll out. Sanitize. Me family fitting boat. And you. Blessed love and greetings. This is Infamous, and I am here to encourage every Kittitian and Nivision to remember that we have our part to play in the fight against COVID-19. So sanitize, wear your face mask, practice social distancing, and go and get vaccinated. For me no know about you, but me love St. Kitts bad. Easy no man.
A pleasant good evening, everyone, listening, whether you're here in the Federation or in the diaspora. My name is Jacqueline Bryan, and I'm the host of this evening's Leadership Matters, which is hosted by the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. He uses this forum to keep you updated on matters of national interest and decisions taken by the Team Unity administration. This evening, we have quite an exciting program for you, as we usually do, and I'm looking forward to the discussion that will follow. The Prime Minister is joined this evening by Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Ron Collins.
Good evening.
Head of the Interministerial Committee on Street Vending, Austin J. Farrier.
Good evening.
As well as Superintendent Cromwell Henry from the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force.
Good evening.
We'll begin this evening's program with the opening remarks from the Prime Minister. Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Jackie. My fellow citizens and residents, it is a pleasure to communicate with you through our popular interactive program, Leadership Matters. This is being aired across multiple media platforms, such as ZIZ Radio and Television, Facebook, and YouTube. This program is an excellent example of good governance at work. We promise better engagement, better information sharing, education and collaboration between the people and government. Leadership Matters, my press conferences and Parliament allow us to keep faith with the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Our regular dialogue with the people through multiple forms and media is part of the consultative democracy that has become the norm since 2015. Tonight I will talk to you about the measures we are implementing to improve the condition of our workers, to protect their jobs, and to create new job opportunities, especially for our young people. Through prudent management, we are able to do this while ensuring the health and safety of our people. Over a year ago, we made a promise to you. We promised to build more homes, to create more jobs, and to keep our streets safe. Tonight I want to share with you how we are delivering on those promises. We are building on our record of delivering for you. We are building on our record of over 3,000 housing solutions delivered to families affected by hurricanes through the popular Hurricane Relief Program. We are expanding support to those impacted by COVID-19 through the Poverty Alleviation Program and income support relief on a scale never before attempted in this country. We continue with God's help to use our best efforts to manage the COVID-19 pandemic. As your Prime Minister, I am committed to service. I recommit to lead justly, with mercy, and walk humbly, consistent with the guidance found in the book of Micah. I remain resolute in my commitment to help the vulnerable, reaffirm the dignity of the poor, encourage entrepreneurship, and I promise to continue to work with all for a better and brighter future. That is why I am so passionate about creating jobs and looking after our people. Jobs are really about human dignity and enhancing the quality of life of our people. That is what your Team Unity government will continue to do. We will deliver real jobs. Our stellar performance of the fiscal affairs of St. Kitts and Nevis has been recognized in the IMF Article 4 concluding statement that puts us ahead of every other country in the hemisphere in terms of our fiscal strength at the start of the pandemic. We received this accolade because we managed wisely. We paid off Labour's IMF debt of $117 million. We paid down over $200 million on the land for debt swap to reclaim lands for the poor, and still we were at the top of the class in fiscal buffers. Using these lands reclaimed on behalf of our people, we were able to create jobs by building, for example, a brand new community center at Lodge Estate, building homes and distributing lands to many of our citizens and residents situated at Lodge, Otleys, and Keon, to name a few. Indeed, we have been focused on doing the right things the right way and correcting the wrongs of the past. People around the region have marveled at our ability to do as much as we have done, especially during this difficult time. We are delivering a second stimulus package this month, targeted at the poor, the vulnerable, and disadvantaged. We are helping small businesses like the passenger bus operators and protecting their jobs, helping battered women and families with disabilities, maintaining support to our farmers and fishers, and creating better opportunities for more of our street vendors in our city and rural areas. Such a comprehensive response at a time of an unprecedented crisis is unheard of in our country. We will continue our efforts to deliver the stronger and safer future that our people deserve. During these difficult times, we will continue to look after those in need. Tonight, I am pleased to report that the second stimulus package is being rolled out nicely. As of yesterday, 2,209 applications for income support have been received by the Ministry of Finance and are now being processed. By Friday, we will begin to disburse the first 1,000 income support. Fuel support payments will start on Friday, as will the support to households with persons living with disabilities. I must remind you that not every application will be processed by Friday, but every week applications will be processed until every qualified person is paid. There is no need for anxiety. Our helpful staff at the Ministry of Finance is available to update and assist you. We are working to create new opportunities, especially for our young people, and to keep our people safe. Our plan to transform Barstow into a most beautiful city, which allows for safe movement of vehicular and pedestrian traffic, is now being implemented. Our sidewalks along the Bay Road, 4th Street, Central Street and Princeton Street, in the heart of Bastia, have been reclaimed for safe use. It is a big relief to all of us, but especially to the elderly, to persons living with disabilities who many times were forced into the road, exposed to harm and injury from incoming traffic. We have resolved this problem by relocating the vendors to the People's Market. My government is encouraged by the widespread public approval for this major development in Bastia. We are seeking to reorganize the city of Bastia to bring more structure and order so that we can improve safety and, of course, facilitate economic growth. Turning to our food truck vendors to create a better, more business-friendly atmosphere, the food truck vendors will soon be relocated from Independence Square to a better and enhanced venue on North Independence Square Street. Compliance with the health protocols will be the order of the day. A new food court will soon be available. On Sunday afternoon, I toured the site, accompanied by Mr. Dre Farrier, chairman of the Street Vending Committee, Police Commissioner Brandy, and Superintendent Henry. I was impressed by the progress made to date. Electricity poles and lines are already drawn to the site. Plumbing system is being organized, complete with sanitary facilities. These are necessary amenities that were not previously available. In addition, a gazebo will be erected to create an impressive ambiance. Security cameras and extra lighting will be installed in the area to ensure enhanced safety. In summary, something better than what was will be available to vendors and patrons. Yesterday, Monday, we met with the proposed vendors for the new site. They shared their views in a candid discussion with my government. I can see them now. Sheldon Gittins, Latrice Christopher, Errol Phipps, Samantha Liddy, David Heiliger, Najma Prentice, Kaya Pontine, and Pedro Wilson. Good things are happening. More jobs will come as we further open up our country to more economic activities. Let me record my gratitude to the vendors for their understanding. Equally, we owe a debt of gratitude to the multi-ministerial team, the Urban Development Corporation, Sustainable Development, Public Works, Agriculture, Office of the Prime Minister. They have provided the best solution to a problem that no government before us was able to effectively manage. This is part of our plan to revitalize and reorganize downtown Bastia, making it one of the most beautiful, thriving, orderly, and clean cities in the world. Turning now to other areas of economic activity, I must stress that a strong business sector creates more jobs and more opportunities for our young people. And that is why we want a thriving country in which every community is alive and well. We support and encourage entrepreneurship, especially among our people, the young and talented, seeking to carve out a prosperous future. The hundreds of loans approved for small and medium-sized enterprises through the Fresh Start program provide ample evidence of our tangible support. Tax concessions to small and medium-sized enterprises again demonstrate our support. Our waiver of stall fees at the People's Vendors Market and fees associated with the North Square Street location is another example of my government's commitment to help small and medium-sized enterprises. It is our commitment to the success of SMEs that led my government to transform Black Rocks, creating booths for our sons and daughters to ply their trade in craft, in clothing, food and beverage. At Black Rocks, we created a masterpiece of a deck and lookout area, now popularized for weddings, sightseeing, photography, etc. I must commend the young architect again, Miss Carissa Roberts, for designing that masterpiece. The more visitors to Black Rocks, the higher the patronage and sales for businesses there. Similarly, we are creating farmers and vending markets in key areas to support our farmers, our fisher folks, and indeed other small businesses. We started last Saturday at Bowyer Strip, Connery, and Pan Road. We shall improve on the temporary arrangements in the near future. Some wonderful things are about to happen again under my team Unity Government, and we appeal for private sector support as we put our country on a renewed path to the stronger and safer future. I encourage the patrons to continue to give strong support to our small businesses. The truth is, no place in St. Kitts and Nevis is too far. Distance is relative. I encourage our vendors to offer quality products, quality food and beverages, and indeed quality service. I encourage them to get vaccinated, thereby protecting themselves. In the same way as the Ministry of Agriculture has popularized night vending at our public market, innovations will come to these new sites, attracting increasing business, jobs, and higher income to all vendors. Anyone who is displaced at this time has access to the broad range of social safety nets which my government has in place, including PAP, that is $500 per month. Our income support of $1,000 for the next 3 months, and we are also providing support for households with persons living with disabilities. None will be left behind by my government. All are encouraged to contribute to a stronger and safer future for themselves and their families. You can contribute through your industry, creativity, innovation, and talent. The best help is self-help. The best hand up is a job. That is why we are working hard to put our country back to work. That is why, as Prime Minister, I have taken a personal interest in ensuring that these bold decisions we have taken are implemented in a manner that advances the well-being and welfare of all. A note with respect to the cruise industry. Thursday was a red letter day for St. Kitts and Nevis. It marked the inaugural visit of Seabourn Odyssey, the first cruise vessel to return to St. Kitts after a 16-month suspension of cruise business. We are obviously encouraged by this development and the fact that we are scheduled to receive more vessels this year. However, we know the vagaries the industry faces with the changing landscape of COVID-19. Things can change at a moment's notice. We are cautiously optimistic regarding the cruise tourism for 2021. 6 calls from cruise vessels in the Celebrity Cruise and Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines are scheduled in the month of August. If there is no change, this will be a significant and positive increase over last year when no cruise vessels disembarked passengers. Cruise arrivals mean better days for the tour operators and their employees. It means the return to work of hundreds of employees in restaurants and to other service providers. We have taken the necessary precautions to limit interaction between cruise passengers and the general public. This is a precautionary strategy to safeguard our people from the transmission of the COVID-19 virus. The good news is that several businesses which participate in the cruise industry have encouraged their employees to get vaccinated, thereby reducing the probability of them becoming infected. We continue to examine the bubble tours to see how we can safely extend them to more locations, for example, Port Sante in due course. We ask for patience as we work through the challenges, and we urge all of our people wanting to do business with cruise passengers to become vaccinated, thus protecting themselves and their loved ones. Yes, we are moving in a careful way to fully open up every area of socioeconomic life. We must be mindful that COVID-19 is still with us. Our best defense is vaccination. We will continue to open up and promote our economy, but always in a way that is safe. Finally, let me welcome the panelists here with me this evening. Mr. Ron Collins, our Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture et al. Mr. Cromwell Henry, Superintendent of Police, and Mr. Austin Dre Farrier, Head of the Interministerial Committee on Street Vending. I trust that you will find tonight's edition very informative, and I look forward to your questions, your comments, and concerns. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister. And now we'll hear from Mr. Ron Collins, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture. Mr. Collins?
A blessed good evening to all. I'm honored again to be here and to join this program to share with you updates from agriculture, most recent updates, particularly with reference to the market situations that has evolved recently. The COVID-19 pandemic reveals increasing vulnerabilities for farmers and fishers. It reveals the need for reform, and our continuing efforts give support to the role of the agriculture sector in supporting a sustainable economic recovery of St. Christopher and Nevis. Our agricultural development agenda reflects and highlights agriculture as one of the key sectors in achieving sustainable economic growth. We have developed subsector strategies in crops, in extension, in irrigation, livestock, fisheries, agricultural marketing, mechanization, and technology. Our strategic systems for fruits and vegetable products. The main objectives include, but are not limited to, strengthening the capacity building of farmers and our agricultural technicians, adaptation of technically sound farming systems, availability and use of improved seeds, fertilizers, and other inputs, increase in yield on the various crops season, and increased income for individual farmers. Allow me to give you some brief updates from our ministry and the sector. Our boar-goat breeding program is organized breeding activities to effect genetic improvement within our livestock. And we have referred to this, I think, sometime last year. We envision to increase the productivity and profitability of breeds without undermining their resilience and genetic integrity and without expensive interventions. Tomorrow, Wednesday, some 25 boar goats, female goats, will be made available to livestock farmers in the handing over ceremony at Neil's farm in Parsons. The boar goat has a fast growth rate and excellent carcass qualities, making it one of the most popular breeds of meat goat in the world. Boar goats have a high resistance to disease. I also want to update you on our shade houses program. We continue to promote a number of alternative methods that seek to improve the overall efficiency, resilience of our crop production throughout our federation. One such system is protected agriculture, specifically greenhouse and shade houses. These shade houses offer many advantages for us. They will offer for us large increase in yield, produce quality and revenue, high water productivity, saving significant amount of water, significant reduction in pesticide use, lower production costs, healthier produce, low incidence of pests and diseases, and year-round production, and of course, improved quality and consistency of crops. Construction begins within the next week and will be done throughout the entire island at various sites. Our Farmer Assistance Program continue to function. The Farmer Assistance Program was established to provide support to farmers in their efforts to enhance agricultural production. Many farmers continue to benefit from this initiative. For the month of July, some 51 farmers were approved for assistance with items such as agricultural inputs, building materials, etc. Our feral animal prevention and control program also continue to work well for us. The now completed monkey traps have been made available to several backyard farmers to assist in the management of these animals. Large traps are now being constructed for use by our established farmers to control the monkey problem. To date, we are well on the way to meeting our targets set for this program. Some 500 monkeys, 120 pigs, and 2 donkeys have been culled and halted from their destructive work and removed from our farms. We have some production initiatives that have been implemented. As of tomorrow, 1,000 coconut seedlings will be made available to the Department of Agriculture for their outreach centers and for distribution to farmers. A number of citrus plants are being sourced for production, including limes, lemon, tangerines, oranges, and grapefruits. 15,000 pineapple seedlings are expected shortly and will be distributed to our farmers. Some 6 acres of papaya seeds will be planted by farmers throughout the 3 districts in St. Kitts, and this will commence shortly. Tissue culture material for roots and tubers are being provided to farmers at Foy's. These include yams, eddos, dasheen, and tanyo. And we are working through CARDI to have these planting materials delivered in a timely manner. A number of new projects are currently being initiated at various stages of implementation. We have the innovative protected cultivation system for the Caribbean, supported by the FAO. We have the Cooperation for Adaptation and Resilience to Climate Change in the Caribbean through Mexico, CARICOM, and the FAO, the AMEXIT project. We have the Resilient Aquaculture for Food Security and Well-being in the Caribbean, and the list goes on and on. Shortly, we have already received final approval, and with the assistance of the FAO, we have spoken much last year of the need for reform, the need to chart a new path for agriculture, and this has now commenced with the support from the FAO and the assignment of the consultants. St. Kitts Nevis Agricultural Transformation and Growth Strategy plan for 2022 onwards to 2031. This will be a consultative process and will see agriculture go in the direction that we have so long spoken about. Our fisheries are not left out. We now have the FADs starting, the fish aggregating devices they use in the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis to enhance our food and nutritional security, improve fisherman education and training, and create alternative livelihoods for our fish folk. From August, as of next week, the extension unit within the Department of Marine Resources, along with the FAD officials throughout the Federation, will begin construction and the deployment of FADs. These FADs will benefit every fishing community within our Federation, and the deployment will run from August to December of this year. Now we turn our attention to the public market. The public market, we would have seen some interruption to the operating hours because of the COVID, and we have now returned to the normal operating hours from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Let me pause and interject where another interruption would have occurred in the Old Road fisheries. During the 2-week lockdown, we would have seen the closure of that facility. To some extent, there were personal arrangements made with some fishers who required that assistance, but the majority of services operated out of the Bastia fisheries. The Old Road fisheries has resumed normal operation to support our fishers in that area. For the public market, we have resumed normal operation. Adjustments were made only during the partial lockdown to facilitate the curfew hours. We have vending spaces, 10 small rooms in the northwestern corner, and these were identified for craft vendors to date. They are not occupied, so we still have spaces. There are 14 mall stalls. The addition to this is that we have now made provision not only for meat vendors, but for also fish vendors. On the southwestern section of the market, there are 2 vending rooms. We have a restaurant, and we also have vegetable room stalls on both the eastern and western end of the southern part of the market. On the southeastern section of the market, there is a vending room. Vegetable and fruit stalls, we have some 184 of them, now occupied by 160 vendors. Sorry, 110 vendors. 160 of those stores are occupied by 110 vendors. Our equipment are up and running. We have 3 trails. They are now in use. We have a freezer. It's being maintained, our meat saw, and our backup generator. The toilet facilities in the market are available for public use, and they are in good condition, and they are well maintained. We have regular garbage removal with garbage bins throughout the entire market, adequately and strategically placed. As the Prime Minister would have advised, the market fees, all market fees, have been suspended in accordance with the government's second stimulus package for 2021. Our security at the market is adequate. We have increased staffing at the market to provide assistance in the management of the operations and the implementation of COVID-19 protocols. Our maintenance and repairs, currently we have earmarked the roof, and that should begin shortly. There are some areas of the roof where that has seen some damage over the years, and that is being addressed. Stall doors are being constructed to ensure that every stall has a door and vendors can secure some of their goods there. Parts of the flooring that may be faulty is also being addressed. There's further plans for enhancement with Wi-Fi hotspot at the market, painting and decoration. Much promotional activities, including our night markets and so on, will continue and is being coordinated by the ministry with promotional events activities by the communication and media unit of the ministry. We have now identified new market venues to alleviate some of the congestion at the market and to provide that ready area for those who live in specific communities. So the ministry has now established the community farmers market in these areas. These community markets will engage in sale of fruits and vegetable produce. We started on Saturday. We did have some challenges with the rain later in the day, but vendors turned out earlier in the day, and at least one remained right to the end of the day, braving the strong winds and rain that was in the area. Pond Road Strip has been identified, Connery has been identified, Boreal, and we are working again with SPACs in the Sandy Point area to ensure that it provides for vendors in that area. These sites will be maintained by the ministry, and we will ensure the operations there that will serve the public and the vendors. I will stop there for now, but just to advise that we have continued the registration, and persons who are interested, you can call the ministry or the department, and we will make a spot available for you. Right now we are using tents because the stalls, wooden stalls, are under construction that will be placed at these new areas until we upgrade further. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Collins. We'll now hear from the head of the Interministerial Committee on Street Vending, Mr. Austin J. Farrier. Mr. Farrier.
Thank you, Ms. Brandt. Good evening to all. I'm extremely honored to be here tonight, to discuss the matter of street vending in Bastille. On the 27th of January, I accepted the responsibility of chairing an interministerial committee to advise on vending. This committee was asked to consider the following. 1, the rights of the vendors to make an honest living or ply legitimate trade. 2, the facilitation of entrepreneurship among micro-entities. And 3, whether the provision of alternative sites might be required and what support would be needed to make these sites attractive to all users. It became exceptionally clear from the first meeting that the issue was much bigger and more complicated than just street vending. This is about a vision for Bastille, a vision to provide a beautiful, vibrant, organized, and welcoming environment in our capital city where the entrepreneurial spirit can flourish and persons who visit have long-lasting memories of what Bastille has to offer. But for an environment like this to exist, it first has to be safe. The committee was faced with the task of creating the delicate balance between having an environment in which vendors can flourish while simultaneously returning the streets and sidewalks of Bastille to the original users, which are pedestrians and persons who drive. At no point did we take our responsibilities lightly. We are all aware of the situation this country and its citizens are facing. We know everyone is trying their best to survive and make ends meet. Hence, all committee members were aligned in their mindset and know that street vending, although mostly informal, is still very important to our local and national economy. The selling of craft, food, local drinks is as much a socio-cultural phenomenon as it is socio-economic. This is exactly the entrepreneurial spirit we were asked to facilitate. However, as a committee, we are all in agreement that there has to be some organization to the way the streets and sidewalks of Bastille are being used. When it comes to vending, standards also play an important role. Our public health cannot be compromised, especially when it comes to food standards. This is definitely not the time to take unnecessary risks with our health. That is why, if an individual wants to conduct any activity on the streets and sidewalks of Bastille, the committee is recommended that. I just want to reiterate that the committee, and by extension, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, believes that vendors should be considered and respected as budding entrepreneurs. They deserve the proper support and tools needed to develop their business in an organized, safe, healthy, and lawful way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Farrier. And now we'll hear from Superintendent Cromwell Henry from the Royal St. Christopher and the Nevis Police Force. Superintendent?
Thank you very much, Jackie, and a pleasant good night to all listening and viewing this program tonight. We continue to see the easing of restrictions in this new iteration of the Emergency Powers COVID-19 regulations. While most of the provisions of this new regulation remain the same as the previous versions, this latest version, which commenced on July 26, has allowed for more time before the night curfew begins. The night curfew now begins at 11 p.m. and ends at 5 a.m. the following day, and this will continue until August 9th. This reduction in the curfew hours is possible because of the cooperation of the majority of you, the residents, and your adherence to the COVID-19 protocols. We have seen consistently single-digit number of new cases reported. If this current trend continues, then we can expect a further easing of restrictions and reduction, if not complete removal of the curfew. The restriction on social activities remain in place and continue to require permission from the Commissioner of Police. Mass gatherings are still prohibited and only limited social activities are being approved. We are reminded that we are not yet out of the woods, as we are still seeing new cases daily, which indicate the virus is still in the community. Again, if you continue your adherence to the protocols and our number of new cases remain low, other social activities will be considered. Our street vendors who were removed from the streets because of the health and safety risk associated with this activity, as it was then, are being relocated to more conducive environments. The provision restricting street vending remains in the current iteration of the emergency powers regulations. We crave your understanding. We crave the understanding of all as we try to balance public health and safety with the vendor's right to earn. I will stop here for now and look forward for the discourse later.
Thank you so much, Superintendent. And we've gotten to the point in the program where we've heard from the Prime Minister, we've heard from his guests, and now we want to hear from you. I'm sure that given the topic, many persons have questions, maybe even concerns and suggestions, and we'd like to hear from you as to what they are. Let me share the numbers with you. We're going to take a quick break, but I'll share the numbers with you so that you can prepare yourself to participate once we return. The call-in numbers are 466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and the international line is 1-239-645-4500. Those numbers are listed at the bottom of the screen for your convenience. We have two numbers that you can use to send WhatsApp messages to if it's more convenient. And those numbers are 661-5683, that's 661-5683, or 660-7168, that's 660-7168. So, prepare yourselves, gather your thoughts, and when we return, we will open up the phone lines.
I'm here to say kids, Nevis, with the name for us I represent for the Ministry of Health. Yeah. Respect the COVID protocols. In a time like this, all for one for all. St. Kitts Nevis. Don't forget your mask, wear it everywhere you go. Sanitize before and after everything you do. Cause you never know what's on the surface or the places you go. Maintain a safe social distance between me and you. Keep calm and stay focused. Don't be a fool, seek the facts first and boost your immune system up. Don't wanna lose no more of us. Mask up, furlough, sanitize, observe the protocols all about. Be wise. Mask up, furlough, sanitize. Me family fitting boat and you. Blessed love and greetings. This is Infamous, and I am here to encourage every Kittitian and Nivision to remember that we have our part to play in the fight against COVID-19. So sanitize, wear your face mask, practice social distancing, and go and get vaccinated. For me no know about you, but me love think it's bad. Easy no man.
It's time we get back to business. The Social Security Board is celebrating 25 years of self-employed coverage. And to get back to business, we're hosting a free virtual seminar on Wednesday, July 28th at 7 p.m. to 8:15 p.m. Virtual, did I say? So we're going to get you online at Zoom. Look below, you'll see the ID, and to register, you can call ahead, 465-2535. We're happy to serve you. Getting back to business.
Welcome back to Leadership Matters, which is hosted weekly by the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. My name is Jacqueline Bryan, and I'm your host this evening. He's joined by, because he's usually joined by key officials, this evening he's joined by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Ron Collins, Head of the Interministerial Committee on Street Vending, Austin J. Farrier, as well as Superintendent Cromwell Henry from the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. And we're at that point in the program where we're going to open the phone lines to hear from you. The conversation this evening is centered on the topic on the path to a phased economic recovery. So that's our focus this evening, given these presentations that were made. So we'll go to the phone lines. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Good night, and Leadership Really Matters. I wanted to welcome back to Leadership Matters. Last week was off, this week we're back. Let's dive right into it, and before we go there, let me say welcome to the newest member, Mr. Farrier, my next door neighbor. Welcome to Leadership Matters. Now, is there a cut-off period for the application for the stimulus? That's number one. Two, when will persons begin to receive checks? It is very important because persons seems to appear that it's a hope, it's fake. Our Prime Minister is just saying things. So very important. When can persons start to receive checks? Next question. Is it compelling for persons to have a bank account to receive such payment from the stimulus? And I'll move on. Now, Mr. PM, I'm happy that the severance is continuing. I'm seeing people as a media, I'm hearing people giving me good result that the severance is still being paid. Could you give me a little rundown on how is it going, how much is being paid out, how much persons or how much application is pending to be paid out? Very important question. Would have benefited and moving forward so we can sustain our economy. Now, Mr. PM, there are persons meeting me and seems to want to intimidate me, but it's not going to work, telling me what I should say on Leadership Matters and why I shouldn't say. But the program is open for anyone. You'll see the host, who is very lovely, Ms. Bryan, speak very eloquently about the numbers to call in. It is open for anyone. So I'm encouraging persons to be brave. Call into the program, ask the question, have a dialogue with the Prime Minister and the panelists. They are there to serve you. Don't try to come and intimidate me and try to steer me in a way to ask questions that you feel fit for you. Right? I don't like that, Mr. Prime Minister. You know,
Seem to have lost that call, quite a regular caller here in the program. Yes, the program is open to anyone who has a question or concern, and as you are aware, if you tune into this program regularly, we try our best to address every question and every concern that we can reasonably take within the time given. So I encourage persons to call if you can, or send a WhatsApp message if you're shy. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Hi, good night.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, hi, good night, everybody, and good night, Prime Minister. I'd like to ask a question. First question, for an upcoming, there are any place by the government? If so,
Caller, your connection is not the best, so we are hardly hearing you. You were cutting in and out. I wasn't able to make out even your first question, so I would suggest maybe you change your location and try again. In the meantime, we'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
hello.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Put the volume on your radio or television or whatever device you're using to listen to the program, please.
All right. In the meantime, take another call. You hear me now? You hear me?
Yes, sir. You can go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Prime Minister, I want to congratulate you to continue bringing this program every time you get a chance to do it. And I want to congratulate you guys and them, always on the ball and ready to assist you in any way they could. But Mr. Ron Collins, my name is Cecil Walker, you know. I grew up Westbourne, got by the market there, born there 47 years ago. No, 1946. So that's about 75 years now, right? Now, the market is, you got a slight problem there, and I think you should make that your number one focus. All you need on there is some hot car on the roof. Buy them skylight and get it over with, because I tired go to the market and hear people abusing the government and also abusing you. Now, that gone that way. Now I gone to the chief there now. Now, Saturday down the market, I see the fishermen and them back on the sidewalk again, and they could not get no assistance from the police to go in the market. I think that is bad. So I would like you to look into that for this coming one. Mr. Prime Minister, I'm glad you want to help, and you always got a good heart to help people and help them the best that you could. But I don't see that you going to make an effort to give man tired for the buses, brakes, gas, and all of them things, and they're not vaccinated. The reason why I'm saying that is that they have to carry old people, they have to carry young people, and those people are the quickest one to get sick. And I don't think you should give no bus drivers no help unless they are fully vaccinated. And then Mr. Farrier, now, I'm glad to hear from you, and your message is very good and talentful for the city of St. Kitts and Bastia especially. So, by the help of God, you will get you by keeping things in order. You got Comrade there, the inspector there, the superintendent, he will help you out. So, Mr. Prime Minister, look into that. I'm not telling you what to do. I cannot tell you. I don't have the authority to tell you what to do, but just put a note there on the paper, and then you look over it and see if it's right. Thank you very much, and thank you all, and God bless you all. Love you. God.
Thank you so much. And to improve the quality of your call, I'd just like to remind persons who are calling in to lower the volume on the device you're using to listen to the program once we answer the phone. And also to keep your contributions as brief as possible so we can take as many calls as possible. That's usually one of the complaints we have here. We have a lot of people trying to get in, and we want to hear from as many of you as possible. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Good night, everybody.
Good evening.
Ms. Brian, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. And how are you?
And my wonderful Prime Minister. Mr. Collins, you say about the amount of stall in the market and how much occupy. And you speak about Pond Road. How much vendors are there? If it's vendors and if they are provision sellers. And please see, they don't do like 4th Street. Now with the fish, not enough space for the fish in the meat part. So somebody will have to go to organize it. It's not a bad idea in the market, but then this amount of people will be selling fish. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Hi, good night again.
Hi.
Yes, I want to emphasize my question again. For an upcoming small business, there are any by the government? If so, what are the procedures are? Hello?
Any? Repeat your first question, please. You're asking if there's any assistance?
There any assistance for upcoming business, any upcoming small business, and if so, what are the procedures? Second question. Hello.
Go ahead, sir. Having some difficulty with the line. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live. Okay, we can take some responses at this time. We have several questions in front of us. And the first one asking if there is a cutoff period for applications to the stimulus package, and when will persons begin to receive their checks, as well as is it necessary to have a bank account to receive your stimulus payments? Mr. Prime Minister?
Yes. The cutoff period has not yet been established, but clearly the program will not be open indefinitely. This is a program intended for those who are in need, those who are vulnerable, and the program is now open. We would invite as many persons, if they are interested, to make the application soonest. We are satisfied that the response so far has been quite good. I have reported that so far we have had over 2,000 applications in less than a week, the first rollout. And so we will begin processing those applications starting on Friday. So by next week, persons should be able to collect their checks or have the funds submitted, transferred to their particular accounts. With respect to the question regarding whether it's compulsory to have bank accounts, I would say no. Although bank account would be the preferred means by which we would want to make payment. Largely it is a safe way to make payment, and secondly, it avoids crowd of persons having to be at the treasury to collect their checks, because the alternative to bank transfers would be a payment by check, and that has to be collected and signed for, etc. So that is the preferred means. We understand that a number of persons may not have bank accounts or may not be able to go to the bank in the manner in which may be required by the circumstances. And so just as we do with the PAP, we have about 95% plus of all payments under the PEP program being transferred directly from the Treasury to the accounts of the applicants. And there are some small number, less than 5%, who will go to the Treasury to collect their checks. So while we are encouraging persons to utilize their bank accounts because it's easier for all and perhaps a more reliable way, we are sympathetic to those who may still want to have their cash, and we are facilitating for the time being.
So, well, that caller also asked Mr. Collins for an update on how many farmers benefited from the first stimulus that was distributed, and if there will be a second rollout for farmers.
The first stimulus that was rolled out in 2020 saw reduction in prices for farm inputs across a number of areas. So farmers in poultry, livestock, in crop would have benefited from this. We have formalized a report on that, and that will be published shortly. But to date, I would have referred in my opening statement that we would have just this month, approved some 51 requests for assistance, and this included things like building materials where persons are expanding their business, seeds and other input. Now, it's somewhat difficult for me to quantify it right here in terms of last year, because we had farmers benefiting from reduction of prices in the inputs, and some, not just reduction, but completely free distribution, and also the other inputs. But it is a continuing process, and the forms are still available. Farmers are allowed to apply. We do it in a much more systematic way to ensure that the assistance is not wasted, and the assistance goes into areas that can definitely improve the production. So the extension officer will visit the farm and will work with the farmer to ensure that this is the best way of responding to the challenge, and then it is forwarded to the department for further input before approval. So it is a process of the farmers applying and the extension officers providing assistance.
We have a call who asked about the fishermen on the sidewalks, and we had two calls rather who made reference to fishermen, one saying that they were back on the sidewalks and was asking about getting police assistance to have them moved to the market, and also someone else suggesting that the space in the market is not adequate for fishermen. Would you like to speak to those two?
Yes, we did make provision very early for part of the meat stall to be converted into stalls to provide for fish vendors to ply their trade. We have reviewed that and recognized there is need for increased spaces, and the Marine Resources is currently reviewing that to see how best we can respond to that concern. The fish in the area where the Bastia fisheries is located, there is a possibility of an area there being associated, but we are going through the normal procedure of ensuring that we clear that first before we advise. But we do recognize that there is need for additional space. Fishers are still also selling their fish right at the landing sites also. So we haven't had much pushback in terms of that area, but it is something that is now being considered by the Marine Resources.
Mr. Prime Minister, that caller also suggested that the government ought not help bus drivers who have not been vaccinated. Would you care to comment on that?
Well, my advice is that the majority of bus drivers are in fact vaccinated. If there are some who are not, we certainly would want to strongly encourage them to do so tomorrow and to put that behind them. Vaccination is one powerful way of protecting the operators, the drivers, and the passengers. We not only want every bus operator, bus driver to be vaccinated, we want every passenger also to be vaccinated. That is where we ensure the safety of all, and we advance the stronger and safer future which our people are committed to and which they truly deserve. Without persons being vaccinated, they are going to be left behind, because the world is moving apace, and everywhere countries are considering options available to them, because unless you have a critical number or proportion of the population that is vaccinated, it will hold back the onward movement of the country. So it is our most powerful tool in the fight against COVID-19. And if we want to move forward and we want our country to progress, we should quickly get ourselves vaccinated.
Mr. Collins, a caller asked how many vendors are located along the along Pond Road?
Currently, we have registration in some over 20 persons who have registered so far for the Pond Road area, although there are persons who are currently using it who we have not captured yet with the registration form, but we're reaching out to them.
And the caller who actually called back, and I'm happy that he did, to ask his question, for upcoming small businesses, is there any assistance for them? And if so, what is the procedure to access it?
Well, I would want to recommend that the person visit the Ministry of Trade, which is the line ministry most involved in the distribution of assistance and managing, for example, the framework by which a range of support, concessions are granted on materials, etc., etc. Advice is given with respect to the viability of businesses, preparation of business plans, etc. So for more information, I will recommend that the caller should visit the Ministry of Trade and speak to Mr. Philip Brown or any other of the officers involved intimately with issues of small business development.
Thank you so much for that. And if you're interested in participating in the program, let me tell you what the numbers are so that you can call in if you have a question about agriculture, policing, or street vending, or any other matter, because I don't think there's ever been a time when any other matter has not been addressed on this program. Feel free to share that with us. So the call-in numbers are 466-2666, 662-8674, and 767-4765. The international line is 1-239-645-4500. So those numbers are listed at the bottom of your screen. You can also send messages and questions to WhatsApp. The numbers for the WhatsApp messages to go to are 661-5683. That's 661-5683. And 660-7168. That's 660-7168. We'll go back to the phone lines. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Yeah, good night. I'm back and I will be short. In terms of the vending, I know definitely from speaking to one of them, the food truck vendors, they was very happy and they seemed to think that the outcome was very fruitful from the meeting with the Prime Minister. My question, so I guess is Mr. Faria, could you elaborate if there will be any fees involved for those food truck vendors? I know the Prime Minister speaks very good about the water structure and the lighting and what's not. And could we know how many vendors would be allowed in that space? And I just want to thank the government for providing space for vendors. Persons think that the government has to, but whether they has to or not, the point is the government is looking out for the people. And I'm happy that we can walk as the Prime Minister freely in Basti, especially persons who are elderly. It's a good job in terms of relocating the vendors.
Thank you so much. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
I would like to congratulate the panel, including the Prime Minister, on a very good program this evening. I'm listening, and I really would like to see them do something with the market in terms of fixing the roof, in short order. I know change is not easy to be accepted, but, the vendors will come around at some point in time, cannot continue to do things the same way, especially with what was going on the streets. 4th Street, it was just a bit unsightly. So I'm really, really happy to see something is being done, and I'm concerned about the farmers as well, so I'm happy, they're getting some assistance as well. I keep on saying, we always have to pay attention to agriculture because, it's supposed to be the mainstay as well. And I would like to send out a strong message to the vendors. I hope they're listening. I don't just want them to survive, but I want them to thrive, make a profit from their sales. So they cannot do things in the same old, business as usual. They have to get on board. Things have changed.
Much for your contribution to the program. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters.
Yes, hi, good night.
Hi.
I have a second question here. And the second question, I would like to know if any land available. And Prime Minister, can you please tell me where and how to apply for the land? And I just hope that for small business, I hope that you don't have any red tapes and yellow tapes that you have to go through. I hope that the system is flexible for poor people to strive for the business. I thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution to the program. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. It's me. Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay. Hello. Good night to the Prime Minister and the panel there, and my good friend here, Jackie. Prime Minister, you and your government been doing a wonderful job. As you said, to quote something you said, your government is listening and trying to see the best they could handle situations as they come up from the public, which is very good. But I find that even on a radio station, the things that you set out to do, they are saying they should have been done before. And some of these were people who are in government, and then I had no ideas like what coming up now. No program to interact with the people like now. They're coming behind and making mischief. But so much for them. My thing is about the market. Mr. Prime Minister, why you listen to me good? The market has a sort of A-frame roof, a gable roof. But to the eastern side is a big opening. And in my estimation, I think it needs a canopy. So that and it can be done. And I know that when rain come in, and wind is blowing, the water would blow in there easily. And also, the lower roofs on the seaside, you need to get some covering in the area too, so that the rain wouldn't come under there. Canopies can go across there too. And my other concern with the market, I know I heard the PS say that the toilet facilities are in good order, but I go down there used to be. I mean, the activities really used to go on there and people were taking their work seriously, but I think toilet facilities, these are things that we got to emphasize on. And like, you're going to use Lafayette Lane for some food vending, and you're going to have portable toilet. I hope they have water there too. I mean, we really got to move forward and upward. I like to talk about Singapore because what I see about there, I didn't go there. I was supposed to go last year, but the corona. The market system, you have section for food, section for different things, and everything is clean and in order. I know that the Asian people seem to have a discipline that black people don't seem to have. I hope nobody vexes me for that, but talking the truth. And let me the food truck vendors. I don't understand. I hear some people making a mischief on the radio today. They want to know how much it costs if the land people land. All that unnecessary thing. This government, it's such a sensible government. I mean, just wait and see what would happen. You can't change the rules while the game is being played. And I believe that the people who are the opposers, they are jealous and envious of the strides that you as your administration would have made from when you get in the 2015. So you just envy. They said just scratching, making noise like when a box is on the hillside and you got some hard wind blowing up in there.
Wrap up now as we have some other persons on hold. So if time permits, you can always call back to complete your contribution, but I want to thank you for what you've shared with us so far. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
I just want to say good evening to each and everyone on the panel, and I want to extend a warm and special greeting to the best, and I want to elaborate on the word best Prime Minister and leader, not only in the Caribbean, but in the world, the Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris. PM, this is Trez, and I just want to take the opportunity to big you up and bless you up publicly because it is well deserved. I want to thank you for making sure that all the citizens and residents of this country is safe during a time like this. Continue to be the best, classy, compassionate, man of integrity, man of love, man of dignity. I don't even know what else to say about you because you are a man that has proven to be the best by test. And I just want to thank you, Prime Minister, for always ensuring that everyone is safe and secure. I also want to thank you for providing such a beautiful home for the vendors and small business women and men. I want to urge the public to go out and patronize, support the vendors when they go into their new homes, follow the protocols, and everything will just go smoothly. Prime Minister, you are doing an excellent job, and it has been proven time and time again. May the Lord continue to bless you, keep you, nurture you, and sustain you. And you know how I feel about you. I love you so much, PM. Continue to be safe. Continue to keep a strong head. Continue to keep a level head. I know that you're a man that is not easily distracted. You are not easily intimidated because you were sent by God to lead and sail this ship called St. Kitts and Nevis aright. May the Lord continue to keep you, as I said before, and continue to be safe. I thank you for this contribution. Good night.
Thank you. And we thank you for your contribution. Thank you for calling in. We'll go back to the phone lines. Welcome to Leadership Matters. And there's a lot of wind in the background.
Hello, good night, Jackie, good night. Hello, good night.
Good evening, you're live.
Yeah, good evening, Jackie. And good evening to the Honorable Prime Minister there and to his rest of the panelists. Jackie, tonight I just want to commend the Team Unity government to doing a wonderful job. Regardless of what people might say, we got to accept changes because changes bring new things and changes bring good things. Because let me tell you something, in this pandemic crisis we're into, and this unity government never look out and so be careful for doing what they're doing right now. I believe that we'll be worse off and how we be right now and other countries. Because let me tell you something. Now the government is showing their endeavor best. Because for years vendors on the road, clustered up the road, clustered up the sidewalk, and people were speaking out against the vendors them all the time. Protestant people was walking, especially going up 4th Street, crossed by Social Security, you know, and now that the government see it fit to put the vendors them in a place that they can't block pedestrian or block traffic. A lot of people got a problem and a lot of concern with it. But the damn thing will always be there, Mr. Prime Minister. And I'm glad that you and this unity government has tried to find some ways, especially the food vendors, them who cook food. I see them going back to Lower Lane, and that is good. And you're making a place across the by the square for the food cart and everything. And I believe that in a time like now, a serious time, that we got to accept changes no matter what. And I believe that everything will work out by the end of the day for the vendors in the market and for those who are selling food and for the clothes vendors and all those things. So people will always got a negative ways of mind and listen to got the ignorant ways and trying to bring the politics into everything. That is all about, that's the name of the game. But Mr. Prime Minister, you are doing a wonderful job, and I want to thank you and your cabinet to do what you are got to do to please the ordinary man in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, especially with the stimulus package again. I know that you is a good man of finance, and I know that you will help manage this country
So you all have a wonderful day. May God bless the Federation and think it needs. God bless.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters.
Hi, thank you. I would like to I want to say good night. Thank you for answering my call. I want to thank the Prime Minister and the panel for doing such a good job tonight. I also want to thank the Prime Minister because, you know, Jackie, he is the best. He is the best Prime Minister we will ever see in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I want to thank you, Prime Minister. You are so wonderful. You have done such a great job. Happy anniversary for another year and another job well done during this COVID season. And I just want to tell you that we appreciate you. If no one has said it, Prime Minister, we love you. We love you. We appreciate you. We thank you for doing such a wonderful job. And I just want to ask a question. The question is forwarded to the Ministry of Agriculture, the PS. PS, I want to ask you a question. What would you do with we have a lot of excess garbage in the ponds area from the vendors that do the coconut water. I want to know if it's possible that you can put something in place that garbage will be picked up and we won't have all that coconut husk and everything left back from those persons that are doing the coconut sales. It is very disturbing to see our beautiful island so broken down with all the garbage and debris from coconut husks on side roads. Can you please put something in place that they will be able to remove them and keep the island clean? Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a good evening as well, and thank you for participating in the program. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters.
Hello, good night.
Hi, good evening. You're live.
I want to say a good evening to the panel, of course, and to the Honorable Prime Minister there. This is for the PS in agriculture. Two little areas. The area on Pond Road, please take note that it is a waterlogged area. When there's rain across that area, you know, much activity can't be held across there. Those vendors will be experiencing a problem with water. So maybe we need to have it graded or filled, something to avoid that. And two, the ice machines at the Old Road fisheries are still not working and pose a little problem for the fishers in that area to get ice to take out during the daytime and nighttime for the fishing. So please look into that the ice machines at the Old Road fisheries, they are not working. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll take just a few more calls before we have to cut off for the evening. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Yes, good night.
Hi, good evening.
Good night to everybody on the panel. Mr. Prime Minister, I have one problem, really. You're doing a good job, an outstanding job, really. But I have one problem. I used to live with my girlfriend, and she was the one at the time had the account, the bank account, right? I never had a bank account at the time. But now I have a bank account. She gone on her own. So it leaves me now without getting the $500 monthly. So I want to know how I now could come and get my $500 from me and my son. Can you please answer me?
Sure. I've taken a note of your question, and if you keep listening, you'll hear the response.
Yeah,
I'll be sure. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm told we have just a few more calls. We'll take those. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Yes, good night. I would like to know when the Fresh Start program, when it's going to start. And second question, when NAC embark in building houses for the ordinary poor man, please, I would like to know, please. And I would like to know when the Fresh Start program, when it's about to start. We emphasize the point. I thank you.
I thank you for your contribution to the program. Do we have any additional calls? If so, we'll take the last one. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Yes, hello, good night. Can you hear me?
Well, there's a noise. There's a strange noise coming from the background, so I don't know if you have to the volume on something.
Any better?
Not much, but we'll try and hear what you're saying. Go ahead.
Okay. First, I want to say I'm one of the vendors, but my concerns are right now. Where do I go to sign up for one of the designated areas for us to operate? I really want to say that the Prime Minister and you guys are doing a very good job. I really have no grievances about the situation because I understand why you acted. I am a professional-minded person and I give every respect to the government. So if there's anyone making any controversies towards the government, I am not in support. My concern right now is for me and my family to be able to survive. My real question is, where do I go to sign up?
Okay.
Or register?
Okay, I think we definitely got the gist of what you're saying. It was very difficult to hear all of what you were saying, given the strange noise in the background. But I think I got the main question. You're a vendor and you want to know where to go to sign up. That was our last call for the evening. And I think we can begin with that last call, that we had some difficulty hearing what he was saying, but it was clear that he said he was a vendor and he wants to know where to go to sign up for a space. Mr. Farry, I believe that's your area.
Thank you, Carlo, but technically you'll have to sign up at agriculture. Agriculture is the one that has taken the responsibility of putting in a system of governance for these areas, and they are now asking potential vendors to register for these areas.
Yes, the Ministry of Agriculture will facilitate the signing up and will help you through the process to ensure that you get the space that is being requested. Right? So just call the Ministry of Agriculture, or you can visit government headquarters. If you're going to call 467-1016, 467-1016, or you can call government headquarters and ask for the Ministry of Agriculture, and we will guide you through the process. It's a very simple process, and it will provide the necessary guidance and so on for you to ensure that you're well pleased.
Well, at this time, I think we can take a quick break. We can address the calls that we got just now, as well as any WhatsApp messages we have received this evening, and then we'll have the closing remarks. So stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
We're ready, yeah, we're ready. We're ready, yeah, we're ready.
I have to step out every day into the unknown. It's a challenge to think about growth when everyone's just surviving.
However, building resilience is allowing the self-employed to ride the changing tides.
I am back to business by creating digital channels for my customers to view my products.
I'm back to business by creating a seamless e-commerce experience for my clients.
So I'm back to business by adhering to the COVID-19 protocols to ensure business continuity and the safety of my clients and myself.
Social security, working together to build a sustainable self-employed sector.
Welcome back to Leadership Matters, which is hosted by the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. I'm your host this evening, Jacqueline Bryan. His special guests tonight are Ron Collins, who is the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Austin J. Farrier, who heads the Interministerial Committee on Street Vending, and Superintendent Cromwell Henry, who is hailing from the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. And we're speaking about the path to a phased economic recovery. And the main areas are the areas of agriculture, security and safety, and of course street vending. We have quite a number of callers to address, and we will begin with the one who asked about the fees for food truck vendors. Will there be fees for food truck vendors, and how many vendors will be allowed in the space? I don't think the caller specified which space, so maybe you can identify the spaces available and give us a rundown for those.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Brandt. I'm assuming that the caller meant this space at North Independence Square Street. In the initial stages, we know it's going to be a bit of an adjustment for the food truck vendors. And so the fees are going to be waived for a while until they get comfortable with the space and learn how to navigate the space. As for the space, depending on the size, we are designing the space to accommodate between 6 and 8 food trucks, depending on the size of the food trucks. So that's basically the answers in a nutshell.
Mr. Collins, we had quite a number of callers who raised concerns about the market and its infrastructure, mainly the roofing, as well as the facilities there. Can you speak to that?
Yes. Currently, we have completed the study of what is required to address the roofing challenges at the market. We have had the studies, we have had the submission, and work will begin shortly. It is mainly the area where the glass roof is, the sunlight area. There's some rotting around that area, and we have had the necessary technical experts study it and advise the ministry. So we have made the necessary submission, and we expect to receive the assistance shortly so that we can commence the work. That is for the roof. We would have also met some serious problems with the air conditioning in the meat facility area. That was addressed, and it has now been resolved. The chill rooms are back up and they're working, and we are looking at the increased use of this facility now and what impact it will have on the equipment and so on. For example, the maintenance of the market in terms of cleaning. We have had increased cleaning. In fact, Sunday again, we would have had persons there cleaning the market while it's empty. So we do not have just the regular cleaning by the cleaners who are there, which we are also upgrading, but we also have cleaning on the weekends now to ensure that the market is flushed, it is clean. We have had increased maintenance with the toilet facilities, the removal of waste, garbage and toilet waste from the facilities as well. So we have beefed up our services in terms of maintenance. The stalls also, we would have received necessary guidance and advice on the repairs to the stalls. In terms, the stalls are solid, they are concrete stalls, but I refer specifically to the doors that are on the stalls. So we also have had advice on that, and that is also being repaired. But we understand the challenges in terms of the roof, but we needed the expert advice and guidance on that, and we have had that. So we will bring corrective action to that almost immediately.
Mr. Prime Minister, the caller wants to know if any land is available. If it is, where and how to apply.
There are some lands available. I would recommend, though, that the caller go to the Ministry of Sustainable Development, which deals with most of the land matters, and or the NHC, and that caller can have more specifics in terms of location, etc.
We have a caller who asked about the garbage left behind by some vendors. They made specific reference to those along Pond Road and coconut vendors. Mr. Collins, can you address that?
In all those areas, we have now assigned bins However, we will also need the assistance of those vendors so that they can remove their garbage from the site and have to throw them in the bins. So when it's time to collect the bins, that would have been taken care of. But some patrolling of the area and assistance will be provided to ensure that at the end of the day, we'll have workers, at the end of the day, we will have the vendors cooperating. And I can only request the assistance of the vendors at this time. The mention was made of the coconut vendors, that the bin will be there, that you throw your remains, leftovers in the bin, and we can remove it from the area. But all of the sites are now covered in terms of, once there's a Saturday market, we have bins, we have toilet on the site.
Immediately following that caller was another who had concerns for the area, but this time about how waterlogged it gets when rain falls. Is there anything that can be said about that concern along Pond Road?
Basically, we will look into the issue and address it accordingly, basically.
Okay.
What I can add to it, though, is that it's tents that are being used in that area, particularly, so it is easy to move. Once we know historically that has been associated with that problem, we have to adjust ourselves to climatic conditions and those realities that we cannot change. And so it is mostly tents will be used in that area. In the other areas, we are building some structures for the stalls.
Okay. We have a caller who asked about, well, who brought it to your attention that the ice machine at the Old Road Fisheries is not working.
We have been advised of the problem with the ice machine in the Old Road Fisheries. The Department of Marine Resources has made intervention. They would have spoken to fishers in that area. I know there was a system of transporting ice from Bastille to Old Road to ensure that our fishers were not disadvantaged during the time that the machine was down. They began to source the parts for the machine first. They began to work on the machine. They did that, and there was still a breakdown continuously. Then they looked at sourcing new parts for the machine, and they would have been, because they came from Japan, and we would have been advised, because I was copied on the email, that the parts have been found and they should be here shortly for installation. However, in light of that, also in that regard, we're pleased to advise that there is a new project also that's bringing a number of new machines, I think it's 6 of them, into St. Kitts, into our federation, St. Kitts and Nevis, and we will be housing them. We'll be replacing those that have problems, and we will be housing new ones there at the Department of Marine Resources. So the work in terms of the infrastructural support has already been advised, and we are now waiting for it to commence and the machines to come in. So we will have a better situation, an improved situation going forward. But in the interim, we will continue to provide, even if it means we have to continue to transport the ice there to the Old Road Fisheries until the machine is back up or the new one has arrived.
In that, Mr. Prime Minister, we had the caller who explained his situation to you and has asked how he can arrange to get his $500.
Well, the caller must first make an application. The application form can be had from the Ministry of Sustainable Development or from government headquarters. I'm sure we will find forms at the office of the Prime Minister. In terms of the concern regarding the account, I think that was part of what appeared to be challenging to him, that he did not have an account at a material time, the lady left, and so on and so on. We make payments by check, and those checks can be collected at the Treasury. Of course, now that you have an account, once your application is successful, you can indicate on the form or in a letter to the Accountant General that you wish your monies to be paid to a particular bank and give the account with respect to the bank. And that will be complied with. So the payment part is easy. The first step, though, is to get the application form, fill it in or get some help in filling it in, and to submit it. And the rest of it should be relatively straightforward thereafter.
We have a question here, well, two questions. One asking, when will the Fresh Start program start? And also, when will NHC start building houses?
Well, the NHC, the housing program and the Fresh Start programs are all continuing. So they never stop in a complete sense. They may have particular allocations for a year, and once those are finished, those amounts are drawn down. Sometimes they are drawn down quickly, sometimes it's over a prolonged period. Then when another tranche becomes available, then the system continues. We have committed $5 million for the Fresh Start program, and that money is basically should be available within the development bank. I don't know the stage of the drawdown. So pending that, that facility is there. With respect to the NHC at the current moment is finalizing houses in St. Peter's and at the Wellington Road complex. So again, this is an ongoing matter. This year, on account of COVID and some other issues, the program did not start in the intense way that it would normally be across all 8 constituencies in St. Kitts and Nevis. We are hopeful that come next year, the NHC would restart its housing program in earnest.
Some questions here for Mr. Farrier, and the first one asks, good night, what about the street vendors who are selling clothes? Where will they be placed? We also have someone who asks, would small vendors that will be using Lower Shear Lane have to pay a rental fee? And would they be able to do vending in the evening? And also, would small vendors that will be using Lower Shear, oh, that's the same question, sorry. And how much food trucks can hold in the area? But you addressed that already. I think you said about 6, depending on the size, 6 to 8, depending on the size. So if you can address the others about those who are selling clothes and the rental fee at Shear Lane, and if they will be able to do business in the evening.
With respect to vendors selling clothes, there are available stalls at the Amina Craft Market. So I'm asking that these types of vendors contact the Ministry of Tourism to see if there's any available to register there for the available stalls. With Lower Shear Lane, I must admit it would need enhancing for security reasons. Right now, Lower Shear Lane is being prepped for cooked food vendors. These vendors normally get their food off in a 3-hour period. And so to have food vending there at night will take a bit of an adjustment for us to put in the necessary measures to make sure that the area is safe, the area is healthy, in terms of cleanliness. And so something to consider, but we will still have to work with our partners in agriculture who's managing the area, and basically the security forces, Superintendent Henry, to make sure that vendors are comfortable wherever we put them.
And did you speak to fees? Will there be fees at Shear Lane?
Based on the trend, we want the vendors to be comfortable in their new place before they start to worry about fees. Get comfortable first, get settled in, get some feedback, and then we worry about fees at a later date.
Well, let's be clear, there will be no fees at this
Okay,
time.
yeah.
There will be no fees at any of the venues. In the market, we have waived all stall fees, not Independence Square. We were very clear in the meeting that no fees will be imposed. And similarly, at Shear Lane and any of the facilities made available by the government, at least not at this moment in time.
We have a question asking if any consideration will be given for the bank moratorium or a reduction in 5% interest to build. Can you speak to that?
Sorry, repeat the question.
Any consideration for the bank moratorium or a reduction in 5% interest to build?
In relation to the bank moratorium, we have put that. In fact, I have written to the governor of the central bank that will come as a result of decision making by the Monetary Council. And at the last meeting, we did indicate that we are supportive of an extension of the moratorium with respect to bank loans. The governor has undertaken to do the necessary evaluation and to come back to the Monetary Council before September, because the existing moratorium goes until September. So he will come back in due course, having completed the studies. But the wish of the Monetary Council is that there be an extension, and we are allowing the bank to do the necessary analysis and to come with a recommendation as to how long and the form in which it will take. So that is on the table, and it is a work in progress. And before the completion of the program now in place, we will have better information to advise the public. I would say at its peak last year, we were advised that about 25,000 applications for moratorium, that is deferral of payments, were received, and the total value of the loans were about $5 billion. So it's a significant sum of money and assistance that has been provided to persons.
This person is asking, if someone has a deformed hand, can they apply for assistance, and where do they apply?
I'm trying to get a pitch what it is.
Well, that's
if it is that
they wrote.
If a person has a deformed hand, is they speaking to a limitation?
Might be speaking to a disability.
The disability. Well,
maybe suggesting that they cannot work because of the situation.
And we did say that families with disabilities would be assisted. I would recommend that that person or some person on his or her behalf should visit the Ministry of Finance, collect the necessary application forms, or through social development, because that ministry is also assisting us with respect to this particular aspect of the program, and they will get further guidance with respect to that. Genuine cases of assistance will all be met. That assurance I can give. There are multiplicity of what we call safety net programs, the PAP, the $1,000, etc., and the others that have been there. And so it will be an opportunity for persons to explore and to seek the best option that is available. And that is why we have incorporated the involvement of the Department of Social Development in assisting us with this area of the stimulus package.
This person is saying, Mr. Prime Minister, today I heard on the radio that solid waste workers have not been paid since March. Is there any truth to this? If so, please explain.
There is no truth to that, really, and you will always have this mischief being peddled. What I would say is that up to today, the Ministry of Finance made available to the Solid Waste Corporation up to last Friday. My understanding is that funds were made available. The Ministry of Finance continues to support the Solid Waste, CASPA, and a number of other state-owned enterprises that have fallen into difficult times, largely as a consequence of the pandemic. There are scheduled payments and criteria by which those payments can be drawn down. Clearly, there must be discipline in the utilization of public funds. But I am aware up to today I was in conversation with the Honorable Gene Hamilton, and he assured me that the resources had been made available by the Ministry of Finance.
This is for Superintendent Henry, and the person is asking, what's the situation with persons who sell barbecue in their community? Is that still allowed?
Yes, if you are in your community outside of the town center, you'll be allowed to carry on your vending activity, so long as you're not causing any obstruction to the sidewalk or street in the area in your community where you're operating from.
Mr. Farr, you might have mentioned this before, but if you could quickly just repeat, they want to know what's the time frame for the completion of construction at North Square Street. And I know you spoke to partners, I don't know if you named them, but which agency is coordinating the construction effort?
Okay, let me start with the agency coordinating the construction effort. That's the Urban Development Unit in the Ministry of Public Works. As to the time frame, it's as soon as we can get it up, get it convenient for the food trucks to be in. So we are trying to work our best, possibly in 2 weeks' time.
This person says, greetings to the esteemed panel. Brimstone Hill Fortress has increased the entrance fee from $10 to $15 during this unprecedented global pandemic. The question is, can this fee be subsidized to ease the financial burden with international travelers?
I am not sure why we would want to subsidize international travelers. People are visit. This is a internationally acclaimed site. It is one of the inscribed as a World Heritage Site, so it's one of the top sites anywhere in the world. And therefore, there is a price quoted in US. If the question is well put in relation to international travelers, I could not see a policy prescription which says that tourists come to visit and we need to subsidize their going and trips, etc. So that has not been put to us. Let's see what the market will bear in relation to that matter. I believe that there should be special prices for locals wanting to visit places of historical and ongoing interest. I am not sure that it will be a good policy not for persons or an entity like Brimstone Hill to recover some of the cost of its operations by charging reasonable fees. And the reasonableness, of course, has to be tested in the marketplace.
This person writes, good night, I have 2 questions. My first question is for the Prime Minister. If a person is allergic to the PEG in the vaccines and they can go into anaphylactic shock, would they be considered to get a check from the government because they want to work, but they cannot take the vaccine? And would you consider them for money, to get money from the government? The next question is for Superintendent Henry. They are stating that they're seeing some big businesses with their workers not wearing their masks properly. Some persons who are by the bars are not following the COVID protocol. Also, I think you need to raise the fines if persons break the curfew to $50,000 or 2 years in jail. Anybody can go first?
Well, in relation to vaccine, anyone who is saying that he or she cannot take the vaccine must be able to justify it on health or some other grounds. And that will be the first step in relation to that. I am not sure of the connection between taking the vaccine, though, in relation to the stimulus that we are now addressing.
Been enforcing the regulations with respect to the wearing of masks, particularly at bars. To date, we have issued 371 tickets for COVID-19 offenses, and of that, I don't have the breakdown for bars, but a good number of that number were issued to persons at bars, and both the bar owners and patrons at the bar who were not complying with the regulation with respect to bars. So we have been enforcing where we see infractions, but as I always say, we prefer voluntary compliance because the police cannot be at every bar all the time. And so if it is that persons only wear the mask when they see the police around, then that is not a good thing because the police cannot stay there. And when the police leave, they take off the mask. So we prefer voluntary compliance, but where we find infractions, we enforce the law by issuing tickets appropriately.
Mr. Prime Minister, can we get an update on the Christina Monument? What's the estimated time for completion? And would we have any activity in St. Kitts to commemorate that tragic incident for this year?
We have started some activity in relation to the establishment of a suitable monument in the island of St. Kitts, on the island of St. Kitts, and that is, of course, to the the back of the museum. Place has been identified with the assistance of the leadership of the building board. A contractor has started. I am not sure how far they have reached. Clearly, the lockdowns, which we are just coming out of, would have affected construction activity under the COVID-19 rules. Construction basically had been put on suspension for a while. Clearly, that would not have perhaps reached the test of criticality to allow for a waiver in that regard. So the project has started. Financing has been made available, and at some future date, we will be able to give an update as to where that particular monument is. So the good news, we have started and we will finish it. And we will give an update shortly with respect to that. In fact, I asked the chairman of the building board to provide an update on that particular project.
Good night, Mr. Prime Minister. I must say that you try to look out for everyone, but what about the people at the ferry terminal? The bar owners are having it very hard.
Well, the bar owners, we offer one, a waiver with respect to all of the fees. We did say that would become due in relation to their use of the facilities there. We did, in our stimulus package, provide for the extension of support in terms of water uses. We did, in relation to the stimulus package, provide for a deferral in terms of the electricity bills, so that provides some easement. In other words, for the period of the deferral, your payments basically need not be made. And so we have given that, I think, for a period of 6 months. So that also benefits them. Equally too, those who qualify would also be able to apply to the PAP program, and also where, again, they meet the necessary criteria, there is the option of the $1,000 stimulus. Each of these programs, there are particular criteria which must be met. And any national, any citizen that qualifies is free to apply to any of these. So apart from they benefiting just off the head from not having to pay any rental fees to the Ministry of Tourism, not being required to make electricity payment during the period of deferral, and there are also some concessions in relation to water for which they have benefited. They also have the option to apply to PAP or for the $1,000 stimulus package. Once they meet the criteria, certainly they can become a beneficiary.
Speaking about assistance, this person is asking if taxi operators can be given the same benefits as bus drivers with assistance of the $400 in tires.
Well, the taxi operators already receive substantial benefits, including duty-free concession on purchase of their vehicles every 5 years, and there are other benefits which they have. As we look at the model going forward and the program, we certainly will do the necessary examination of what can be done. At a particular moment, a special case was made for the taxi operators, and so they were given certain benefits at this particular moment in time.
Colin, this person is asking you to address allegations that fisher folks have not been paid for months. If you could shed some light on that matter.
Currently, we do have a delay in the payment of fishers from the Bastia Fishing Complex. The lockdown would have created some challenges for us in terms of the necessary submission and the process. But that matter has been regularly checked to ensure that we can get the payments done. You know, the submission was made, we would have reviewed, we would have done all the checks to ensure that it is being handled properly, and we are waiting now on the release from the Ministry of Finance, and the fishers will be paid. So it's a matter that is being addressed. I think it's 2 months they're outstanding.
We have this person making a suggestion. I don't know if it's something you can speak to. They wrote, "Good evening. I would like to commend the Prime Minister and his team for the efforts that they are making to create an organized way for the vendors to ply their trade. I want to suggest, in addition, that the Bureau of Standards, the Ministry of Health, and Consumer Affairs be involved in the discussions even before the rollout of the vending areas. This is to ensure that food safety is maintained and all environmental health protocols are practiced, both at vending sites and where food is prepared at the homes of these vendors."
Well, clearly, it has always been an interministerial approach. We have involved health in this matter. At every site, the environmental health people have been a part of it. They have, for example, of North Street been there, done some spraying, done some sanitization. They're expected to do the same at the Shear Lane, etc. Every site that we have used, again, because health is so pronounced in everything now, and safety is so pronounced, that we attempt to involve multiple stakeholders, multiple agencies. That is why in my statement I commended, for example, UDC, that has been involved through the instrumentality of Ron Body. We have sustainable development charged with the duty of spatial development, organizing spaces and determining suitability of spaces for particular activity. We have Mr. Farrier, who is here and who has been doing an excellent job and who has a big vision and big dreams about our country and our city. So we have been involved in them. We have involved Public Works. So almost every agency that needs to be there. Obviously, those who are engaged in food handling, servicing of food, should have food handlers permit. That again goes back to health. If people are, of course, producing and involved in agro-processing, clearly that may be a role for the Bureau of Standards to do check and determine certain content, etc. The Ministry of Agriculture and they, in terms of the agro-processing performances, should and would involve the Bureau of Standards. There's room for everybody, and there's no exclusionary policy on the part of the government in terms of the forward progress of the country. And so if there's someone at the Bureau of Standards who want to be part of the committee, we welcome them. And clearly there will always be room for the various views and the various interventions to help us get to the best place in the fastest way and with the best results for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
And finally, this person is asking, given Monday and Tuesday are holidays, if someone is traveling on Wednesday, how would they get their PCR test for 3 days before traveling for it to be approved? And will the Bastia Health Center be open for the swab? And will the labs be open to process on the holiday? Can you speak to that? I
wouldn't be able to answer that question. I would say that they can check with the relevant health authorities in advance. You know, there's time, you can check with the Ministry of Health. Today is only Tuesday. So you have all the other days before the holiday comes in to check with the health professionals, to check with your personal physicians, and I'm sure these things can be arranged. Yes.
The the lab and the health center facilitated persons who wanted to be tested, but the fees were a little more. The fees were additional simply because the staff had to come in to work on a holiday, had to be paid for working on a holiday, and so the fees for the tests were a little higher. So the labs, I'm almost certain, they will be open, but the fees will be adjusted upwards.
Thank you so much for adding your voice to that, Superintendent, because we've gotten to the point where we have to wrap up the program now, and we usually do so in reverse order of how we started, which means that you, Superintendent, get to go first.
I'll be short. I did not get as much question as the other panelists, so it means that the areas of interest were more on the vending and the agriculture. That is a good thing. It means that person understands the law. We have been going over this week after week, and so we are seeing better cooperation. We see the numbers in terms of the number of positive cases being consistently low, and the number of active cases, that number is going down daily as well, and so that is a good sign. We ask persons to not become complacent now and think that all is well and begin to drop your guard, but continue to be vigilant and observe all the COVID-19 protocols. I'm certain that we are all aware of them now. The physical distancing, avoiding crowds, crowded spaces, hand sanitization, wearing your mask, and all those things that would keep you safe. More importantly, becoming vaccinated. The vaccines are available. The health centers are open daily. And we know that vaccine is one of the things that reduce your risk of becoming infected. And so we encourage persons to take the vaccine and adhere to all the other non-pharmaceutical protocols and remain safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was Superintendent Cromwell Henry from the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. Mr. Farrier, you're up next.
Thank you. I just want to keep it short. I want to thank a lot of the vendors on the streets for complying and for having dialogue with us as a committee, giving us your ideas, giving us your concerns. I just want to assure you all that we have your best interests at heart and that we really do consider the safety of all citizens first. Thank you
so much, Mr. Austin J. Farrier, who heads the Interministerial Committee on Street Vending. Mr. Collins?
We are thankful from the Ministry of Agriculture and its departments of both agriculture and marine resources for this opportunity to share with you again our vision, our work program for the sector. We are committed to enhancing the sector, and that process has begun. And what we are able to do on the ground, we are thankful for, and we continue to work with our stakeholders to make this possible. We see the opportunities that COVID has offered us and opportunities that we have no intention of wasting, but grasping and moving forward for an enhanced sector that can contribute significantly to the economic development of our nation. A number of questions have been posed. Time has run out before we're able to address all those posed with reference to agriculture. But here's what we'll promise you. If you call the ministry, if you call the department, we'll guide you with the information that you require, whether it's setting up a new farm, enhancing your own business as a farmer or official. We are willing to engage you and make that possible so that we can improve production. We are looking at the marketing opportunities, at overseas marketing and so on. And so we will engage you once you make yourself available to us and have those discussions. So whatever questions may not have been answered, please feel free to call the ministry or the department and we'll provide more information for you. To our vendors, we wish to encourage you to continue. We know it's a very challenging time for all of us. And we want to see how we can facilitate your business as best as we can to ensure that your livelihood will continue. Thank you.
Thank you so much for providing that option for them, Mr. Collins. Sometimes it seems as though we never have enough time to take all of the calls and messages. Mr. Ron Collins, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, and now the Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris, who brings this program to you regularly. He will bring the program to a close by making his remarks.
Thank you, Jackie, for, again, an excellent moderation. of this edition of Leadership Matters. And thank you for giving so selflessly of your time to this particular program and helping to educate, to inform, and elucidate on matters of public interest. I want equally to say a hearty thank you to the panelists who have come and added value in terms of public information, in terms of sharing policy perspectives and the implementation of policies that should advance the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. So I commend Permanent Secretary Ron Collins. He has brought a lot of energy, a lot of organization skills to advance and to further build out the food security agenda of the government and people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Significant developments have taken place, expansion of land services, the provision of free inputs, the treatment of animals through the dermatophilosis program. Yes, I want to thank him for that, providing free inputs to crop farmers, free inputs to our fisher folks. This has been perhaps one of the best years, well, last year and this year, in terms of delivery of tangible support to the farming and the fishing community, and we are not yet done yet. And so we would want to continue. We are going to put some special emphasis in assisting our fisher folks even more, providing of cold storage and other facilities. We will, for this budget, make provision for the fishers cooperatives in Deep Bay, and that will, of course, help in the better organization of the fisheries development in the rural parts. We have paid particular attention to health and safety. We will examine again the fisheries complex in the East Basseterre and to see what we can do to remodel, to reorganize in the context of the new realities. In fact, one suggestion that had come in was why not have the fishers who would normally be, or the fisher folks, be outside the public market relocated to that complex, because that is a complex devoted to fishing activity. And so it is something that the Permanent Secretary should consider, along with the police, etc., in relation to that one. So that is another option that has come in. How do you allow the fisher folks to ply their trade? How can you utilize more an existing facility and therefore have greater value for money? I want to thank the many callers tonight and the many participants who've called in with their word of commendation. I want to thank my loving friend Trez, and to thank Alice, who has become like a mother to me, for her own advice and support. She's a fearless elderly lady. She's always at the market. In fact, she participates there, and she lets everyone know how she feels. She always will come with good ideas, and from them we can learn. I have learned that at most times there is no bad idea. It's really a question of timing. And so we will work hard, though, to meet the best expectations of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis and to advance the agenda of a stronger and safer future. I want finally to make an appeal to all of our citizens and residents to act responsibly in this COVID-19 environment. In fact, we should try very hard to act responsibly at all times. But in this very difficult and challenging time, we have to make adjustments. COVID-19 will not adjust for us, and if we are not careful, it will kill many of us. And that is why it is sometimes disappointing to hear persons say, why the police don't enforce the mask wearing? Why don't you say to the person who is not wearing the mask that you are uncomfortable and that they ought to do better? We will win the war when we take personal responsibility for winning the war. And we have to ensure that we abide by the various measures, this washing of our hands frequently, the sanitization, keeping our distance, particularly from persons unknown. We maintain the 6 feet distance. We wear our masks, and we insist that others around us also should wear the mask. I want to thank the country for their cooperation, and I want to thank again all those who have given us so many suggestions, so many ideas, which we will work on in due time. So again, it has been a singular honor to be able to serve the country as its Prime Minister at this moment of real challenge around the world, and to bring our country through this safely, and in the end of it, to ensure that we come out of this COVID pandemic stronger and better as a people and country. So thanks again, and have a good night to all.
For your kind words and for hosting this program regularly so that persons can engage with you. I want to thank you as well for making this program a success. It's not a success without you, and we appreciate your contributions every week, and for tuning in and listening, and for those of you who go the extra mile and share the link. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. God bless. My name is Jacqueline Bryan, and I was your host.
I'm here to St. Kitts, Nevis, with a name from us I represent for the Ministry of Health. Yeah. Respect the COVID protocols. In a time like this, all for one for all. St. Kitts, Nevis. Don't forget your mask, wear it.